Hey folks, it's Jang here from ultimaterc.com, and in this video I'm going to give you a look at the inside of a hard case LiPo pack. This is a Gens Ace pack that I got from hobbyparts.com. It's a 2-cell, 5000 milliamp, just your standard typical 7.4 volt pack for regular 10th scale vehicles and such. And this one I actually ruined from being dumb. What I did was I always use these custom terminals or these custom pigtails that don't have a balance plug on them. I never use these ones that have a balance plug except for charging, because you got all these extra wires just hanging off, and of course you don't want to have this one plugged in while you're driving around. It'll just get broken off. I just don't like having all this extra stuff laying around, so I always run my own. And that means changing out the plugs when I first get the battery. And sometimes I'll switch them between different batteries if I don't have enough of these handy. However, the problem with these whole bullet connectors that these things always have is that it's very easy to plug them in backwards if you're being dumb and you don't look at it carefully. It says very clearly there, both imprinted and printed. It's positive, but I plugged it in this way one time. I plugged that into the speed control, and basically that seems to create a dead short, and it shorted out a connector inside of here and basically disconnected one of these terminals. So rather than throwing the battery away, since it was my fault, I caused the problem, I just decided I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go ahead and open up this case. That's why there is tape around the edge of this case. I'm going to take that off right now. Now, you can do this. You can take these hard case packs apart and get to what's inside safely. You just have to go at it with some common sense and a little bit of patience and care, realizing that the energy that's stored inside of one of these batteries is significantly greater than what's in a very large round of ammunition. Just the pure amount of energy itself that's stored is tremendous, and if you release that energy by puncturing one of the cells or a couple cells in there, you can hurt yourself and also burn your house down. So these cases are actually made from two parts, and you can see that there's a seam going right down there. Never, ever, 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 ever take a knife and go straight in like this. You're going to push and push and push. You're going to go through the plastic, and then you're going to go right through the case into the battery, and it's going to burn up on you. Don't ever do that. These things are assembled with an overlap. The two halves actually overlap each other, and then they're glued together with CA glue. I'm going to try to get up close if I can, and you can see that the top half actually overlaps outside of the bottom half. You can see I can get my fingernail under there. So to open this up, you go along, you just find an area where you want to start, and you go in this way, almost parallel to the case. And then once you get the knife to get in there far enough, then you can just kind of go around the whole edge of it. You get the knife up in there and just very slowly go around. You're going to do some prying. You might pull things apart with your fingers a little bit. It may require a little bit of elbow grease, but eventually you can pull it apart. It's not all going to be clean. Some of the pieces might break off along the edges where you don't want it to, where the glue just decides to be really tenacious, but I've already done the whole process for this one. A lot of it cracked apart on me, but I never stuck the knife straight in. So here we go. I'm just going to pull apart the halves now. A lot of this joint ended up just breaking because the glue is actually really strong. These are put together pretty well, but still, never ever sticking the knife in horizontally. You always want to keep it parallel to this edge here so that you're never getting your knife into these cells. This is the bottom half of the case. Here's the top. These are the actual LiPo cells themselves, and these are very soft. You can see here, this is the material that they are covered with, it's practically like aluminum foil. It's like a thick aluminum foil with a little bit of plastic covering over it, which is why, and it's literally that soft. That's actually 2 layers thick right there, and it's super soft. And that's why you never ever want to puncture a LiPo pack or even come close to it, because they're just really fragile. And this is what happens when you have a soft shell pack, is you have pretty much just the outer wrapper, the soft wrapper that comes around these things, such as here, this little plastic, almost cellophane covering, and then inside of there you just have those plain cells, which means if you get a rock stuck between your cell and your chassis, and you're doing a lot of bashing and stuff, that rock can actually penetrate the outer coating. So that's why it's always nice to use hard case packs when possible in land vehicles. Now this particular pack here actually uses double-sided tape on the underside of the top half of the case. So these cells can be pulled out, but it would take a lot of patience to get them out. And fortunately I don't need to do that in this case. I've done it on one other pack, a cheaper pack that was older, just to see what it was going to be like. But that's put in there just to help situate the pack. Now looking down here at the end, you're going to see where I messed it up. So this board right here basically just allows the cells, and you can see one of the tabs, it's covered with this this clear tape material. Now that is actually one of the tabs coming directly out of one of the cells, and they've wired the 2 cells in series. And this little board that the Genzace packs have, not all packs have this, but the Genzace pack has this to basically give a soldering terminal or a soldering base for your female plugs. And the solder joints, if I can keep this thing focused, the solder joints are the softest points electrically. They will melt. They actually are higher resistance, and they will melt if you short out the pack. At least that's what I have experienced. In this case, the solder joint was right in here that actually completely melted out when I dead shorted this thing by accident by plugging it in backwards. So to fix that, all I did was I took a piece of wire from a battery lead sort of thing, just a piece of braided wire. I believe this one was 10 gauge, and I just completely soaked it with solder, got it all solder completely wicked in there, and then just used that to bridge that connector. That's the terminal that was lost. It lost all connectivity. Basically the solder just melted and dripped down into the bottom of the case, and it was completely open. So now I've just reconnected those by just using a little piece of wire and a very hot soldering iron. The solder that they use on these packs is a pretty high temperature stuff. So even with my 80-watt Weller soldering iron, it still took a couple seconds to get it to heat up. You don't want to use a torch style soldering tool for this. You definitely want to use just a heating element style one, but by doing that I was able to recover this pack, so it is perfectly fine now. Charges just fine. So now that this thing is fixed up, I can just put the bottom half of the case back on like so. Make sure that the overlap is back where it belongs, and then I just use tape around the outside of this. You can use electrical tape. A couple layers of it would be good. In this case, I'm using strapping tape. I like the strength of it. It's also the stuff that I have happens to be the right width. Just go around the edge of that, making sure that this is held together nice and tightly. Find a spot, get the tape on there, and go around. And that's that. So if you are not comfortable with your handiwork, if you're not comfortable with operating near high voltage or high amperage electrical sources, if you're not comfortable with the steadiness of your hand using an X-Acto knife with a lot of force, if you are not a patient person, if you are under the age of 18 and not supervised by an adult, and you have not been around mechanical things all of your life, then I would highly recommend that you never do this, because this can go bad. And like I said, lipo cells have a lot of energy in them, and people have lost a lot of property and have actually gotten injured pretty badly from mishandling lipo packs. So be very careful if you're going to do this. Very, 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 very careful. Make sure that you are confident and competent. But if you are, and you just don't know what to expect or how to go about it, now you do. It's not all that scary. There you go. One fixed up hard case lipo pack. Now you've seen how to get them apart. You've seen what they look like inside, how they're made, and if you have a short, you possibly know how to fix it out, how to fix it up, or rather if you have a joint that has come unsoldered. Hope that was useful information for some of you out there, probably not for everybody, but the more you know, right? Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys at the friendly forums at ultimaterc.com. Bye for now.